There's actually quite a bit of people out there who are worried about the future of Forex trading. I'm not. I'm very bullish on it. How bullish? It's hard to say. It's a hard thing to quantify. But let's just say I'm far more bullish on the future of Forex than I am the future of white turtlenecks. At least let's hope so, right? What's up, traders? This is a video that is not going to rank very well, but that's fine because we need to make it. I think now more than ever. This channel, as far as a Forex video channel, is slowly winding to a close. But that does not mean the market is. That just means I have officially run out of things to talk about. But this video is essential. I didn't want to leave you without making this. So let's get into it now. Quick disclaimer, I'm not a financial advisor, all that. And in this video, what we're going to do is talk about some of the bad that's going on. We can't ignore it. It has not been a great 3-4 years for Forex traders. It just hasn't. People have chosen to go other directions. So we're going to talk about why. Because I think if we understand why, then we won't fear it so much down the road. Because bad periods are going to come. Sometimes they're small, sometimes they're not so small. And we're in the middle of a not so small period right now. Really an unprecedentedly not so small period. But we'll talk about it. But there's also a lot of good to come out of this. And a lot of good that I see coming into the future. And so we'll get the bad out of the way and then start talking about the positives. But then there's a reality that I think is missed on so many people out there, especially when emotions come into play. And I know if you love the Forex market and you really want to make it big, but you just don't feel like the market is allowing you to do that, and you feel like you're failing because you're not progressing like you think you're supposed to be. Don't sit there and tell me your emotions aren't getting in the way. I know they are. And I think this is obscuring you from the reality that's actually out there. So we will talk about that. And then no problems without solutions. We're going to talk about what you can do about it and what you should be doing about it right now. And not only right now, but far into the future. All right, so let's get the bad out of the way. We're trend traders. We need volume to survive. It's what plants crave. It's what trend traders crave. And it has only been there sporadically, if at all, to where we can trade exactly the way we want. Sometimes we have to ratchet down. Sometimes we have to follow the dead markets playbook. Sometimes people just want to sit out altogether. And then what I think is far worse is so many people think this is just going to be the way it is going forward. Traders have discovered crypto. We are getting further away from fiat over time. This is going to just completely dry up our market and there won't be anything left for us to trade. So let's go over this before we start debunking it, all right? So, make no mistake. I've been doing this long enough to where I can say it was amazing. Now it's not. Now, there are reasons why, and we will talk about that. But don't think I don't know that it's been difficult. You're probably not getting the results you were getting before if you were somebody who traded in the middle part of the 2010s or before that. I'm certainly not getting the results I used to get. If you really sit there and average it out, I've had a bit of a downturn as well. But there's only so much we can do. It's not us. Sometimes the market just doesn't give us what we need sometimes. And that's fine. EVZ has been hitting extreme lows. If you don't know what I'm talking about with the EVZ, it is the Euro VIX index. I have made one dedicated video to it, and I have mentioned it in a host of other videos. So go to my channel and type in EVZ, and those videos will pop up. But this is what we use to determine the overall volume in the Forex market. Not just the euro, not just the dollar, but everything. And it works really well. Now, I understand that a lot of us have a love-hate relationship with this thing because it's almost like our mother or our teacher telling us that we can't go out and trade the way we want. But that's fine because at the end of the day, it is preventing us from losing more money than we should, and it is also telling us when it's time to scale back on our actual risk. Now, I understand, if for most of your no-nonsense Forex trading career, this thing has given you a yellow light and maybe in your mind sometimes a red light, that's just how it is. That's just the period we're in, and I cannot do anything about that. But what I can say is whining and complaining about how low the EVZ can get sometimes is not going to bring the market back. Now, what should you do about that? Well, that part's coming later in the video. Stay tuned. But on top of all this, overall interest in Forex trading is dropping. Crypto trading is now become a thing, and that's where a lot of people have migrated to. A lot of people have a lot of Generation Z likes to trade crypto and stocks and even commodities too. So that's that much interest that's currently, and I say currently, going away from Forex trading. Also, just look at the scam world. Where are all the scammers now? Are they in Forex trading or are they in crypto? They're in crypto. They skate where the puck is going. I can tell you as a Forex YouTuber, when I first started my channel, when I first started getting big, I would have to eliminate spam comments over and over and over. Sometimes there were more spam comments than there were actual comments. I would say on some videos that was definitely the case. I mean, that's how much I would get. I don't get so much anymore. I certainly get them, but they're not out of control like they were before. And overall search volume has dropped. And for good reason. Some markets are moving, some markets are not. Ours right now just isn't moving that much. And for the longest time, if you were totally all about the instant gratification and just completely over-leveraging yourself, Forex was the best place to do all that. Now, with crypto and everything going on in the options world, you can over-leverage just about anywhere you want to go. So the question comes up in a lot of people's minds, is Forex trading ever going to return to its former glory in terms of volume and popularity and stay there? I'm going to say no, it's not. But I'm also going to say it's not going to matter. We'll talk about that. But one other thing to bring up on this slide was the threat of central bank digital currencies. So, yeah, and this is kind of a dumb one. In a way, it is. In a way, it's not. We'll talk about that too. But there are people out there that say, oh, we're going to get rid of paper currency, so what's going to happen to the Forex market? Well, stay tuned. I will be answering this as well. But let's move on to the good. Let's get all this bad out of the way, and let's debunk some of these things. So first off, is for a lot of people, this is all they've known. And they're still doing well. So explain that to me, right? I'll even get further into this as well later on. But we also have to understand why the EVZ is down. I have talked about this in the past, but I think this is a really good time to go over it a little more, especially because I just did a podcast episode last week. If you want to check it out, it's episode 16 of the 10-Minute Contrarian podcast. It's the video right before this one. And we talked about, what happens when the market falls. Well, it's probably going to be the same thing that happened last time and every other time before that. Let's go take a look. And here we are at the S&P 500 daily chart. And this is kind of the middle of February when oil was selling off. And we had a nice little drop, a retracement. And then all of the lockdowns started happening. I think I was kind of like right here at a bar when I heard about the NBA locking down for the rest of the season. I'm like, okay, it's officially on now. And then panic set in, and we sold off even more. Right here was VP's bear market video. Whoops. The very next day, the market finally tapped out. They're like, all right, you put like 1 trillion here, 2 trillion here, another 2 trillion here, another 2 trillion here. Okay, that's probably enough to get this thing artificially goosed so we can get back up. And get back up it did. And it just kept going. But what we want to know is in the future when it does sell off, because a lot of us are aware of the everything bubble, and a lot of us also believe that when this thing sells off, it's going to be the big one. And it's not going to be able to rebound like this. This is a very artificial rebound. There's going to come a time where those tricks don't work anymore. And when that happens, people are going to want to know where to turn. Now, the classic place that a lot of people would turn is gold. But gold sold off too. A long time ago, it would not have. But now we have paper gold. So people can leverage if they want. And they can exit positions super quick. And when these drops happen, people weren't used to seeing 20, 25% drops in the span of a week. They weren't ready for it. They weren't positioned for it. So even the people in gold got margin called, and they were forced to sell off all their gold and their gold stocks as well. That's just how it goes. People are not ready for it. They're more leveraged than they should be, and this is the result. Now, one thing I mentioned on the podcast was that normally there is a flock to gold, but it takes time. All right, we're talking about the large institutions with grandma's pension. Eventually they're going to freak out, and they're like, okay, this probably is the real one this time. We want to keep our jobs, so we got to start allocating some money into gold. And then even if you just get a few of them doing that, then our gold market goes nuts. But it did rebound, but it just kind of stayed there, as you can see with where the price is right now. I'm sorry, you can't see the prices over here. We're right about at 1720. But that's what happened. So the opposite of what a lot of people thought would happen actually happened. Now, what about that wonderful safe haven known as cryptocurrencies? Well, here's Bitcoin. Sold off too, in a big way. Even far more than gold did. And I said this in the podcast too. I said, your riskiest assets always go first. A lot of Bitcoin maximalists out there want to sit there and tell me that Bitcoin's not risky. Anything that sells off or has the ability to sell off 50 to 60% in the span of a month, whether you don't think it's risky or not, it's not about what you, the maximalists, think in your guys' little bubble out there. It's what everybody else thinks. We need their money to really get this thing to go to the moon. Individuals and funds. Funds with grandma's pension are not going to invest in anything that has the potential to drop 50 to 60% that quickly. It's just not. And even though it did rebound very nicely, if the stock market would have kept going down, rest assured the price of Bitcoin would have as well. Where is the one place people's money goes when the market crashes? Still undefeated. It's cash. You had kind of a weird sell-off here when oil was going down. I can't really explain that. But as soon as shit got real, huge run. Yeah, again, I'm sorry about the numbers here, but this is the dollar index, and it went from about 93 all the way up to 103. And for those of you who follow the dollar index, that is an enormous move up. I mean, nowadays, if it were to go from like 92 up to 95, people would have heart attacks. That's more than most people can handle. Imagine when it went up that much. The problem is, for us Forex traders, is it just didn't stay there because they goosed the market and it got better and cash started coming out. Unfortunate, but the market tipped their hand just like they do every time. Everything's got to get sold off, and what does it get converted into? Cash. Now, we don't need the market, the overall stock market, to go down and crash hard and just keep crashing for us to have a good time. We just needed to stop doing this all of the freaking time. That's literally all we need. There's plenty enough to go around if we can just get this thing to range for a while or slowly go down or kind of go up and then down gradually. Any of those things. And we get our volume back. But only when this stops doing this. I mean, people don't understand just how anomalous this is. We are living through the greatest financial anomaly, some of the greatest financial theater in human history. All right? It's such a great time to be in this space overall. But as a Forex trader, it has never sucked worse because we might have seen lower volumes sometimes in the past, but not for this sustained amount of time. But rest assured, traders, math and economics are undefeated. And you can't just keep doing this, especially when most of it's not even real. Our time is coming. So this flood into cash is going to happen. Now, if there's one thing I've learned, and we should have all learned by now, is that trying to call the future price of anything is a fool's errand. I've said it in my own videos, trying to sit there and use technical analysis to decide exactly where a price is going to be at a certain time. It's ridiculous. Don't do it. Just trade the market that's right in front of you. And that's what we should all continue to do. But there's a lot of cracks in the veneer right now. China, who we just thought would just grow and grow forever because they're doing everything right. Finally, a lot of the things that we have been talking about in the past that we were just talking about them, are now actually starting to finally happen. So it's going to be really interesting to see what the consequences are. I don't think they're going to be very good, but again, I've learned not to call it. But Sit tight, traders. I think we're getting there. And then I want to debunk the CDBC thing, the central bank digital currencies. People have said, oh, if this happens in the Eurozone, are we going to be able to not trade the euro? What's going to happen? And I'm like, guys, the same thing that's been happening in places like India and other places that have eliminated cash. Just because you can't hold it in your hand does not mean it's not a currency and it doesn't have value and you cannot trade it. Okay? So let's get that out of your heads right now. CBDCs can lead to something else that we're about to talk about, but as far as right now goes, if the whole world came up with their own, the Forex market would go right along as normal. Your daily life wouldn't, but the Forex market would. So this here is nothing to worry about. Moving on. And now that we've debunked most of the bad, I think there's a reality out there on top of it all that most people lose sight of when they've just been grinding and emotions start to take hold. First of all, the Forex market is gigantic. It was and still is. And as long as it is big, the spot Forex market will be as well. All right, don't lose sight of that, for starters. Then, I will say, as far as CBDCs go, if this whole great reset happens exactly the way some of these people are trying to call it, and it never happens that way, but if it does, and most of the developed world goes to a single currency, first off, this is going to be so hard to do. With all the debt that's still out there, this is a very, very, very tall order. I don't think people realize how hard this is. But if for some reason they pull it off, then yes, Forex trading as we know it is probably going to look very, very different. But you can still trade with other currencies. This isn't like all 190-something countries all agreeing on one currency. I can never see that happening. For them to all go to one currency and have one or two countries or a group of countries control it, who's going to sign up for that? That just doesn't make any sense. But now, if that day ever came, then Forex trading's gone, as we learn to do something else. But I think the probability of that is extremely low. And even if it's just some of the G20 nations, that's not going to ruin the market. And even if that happens, I still think it's a long way away. So I would rest easy on that one. All right, so hopefully we can put this whole CBDC thing to bed until further notice. But this next one is something I really want to talk about. Despite our horribly low volatility. Now you have to understand, I started this channel in 2018. Most of you did not find it until years later. Volume has never been great since this channel has been alive. We've had our moments, but we've had sustained periods of very low volatility that we just did not see in years prior. Despite all that, despite this volatility that you think is holding you back from being successful, and you're getting frustrated, and you're questioning the time you spent learning this system, and now you're super worried about what your future is going to hold, just know that there are people out there who have had the exact same volatility as you have, who have gone on to become professional prop traders and passed their evaluations, which are not easy, by the way. And I have about 50 people on my testimonials tab on nononsenseforex.com already that have filled out that form and gone pro. And that number is low. Make no mistake. I've seen people mention this on the comments section of YouTube videos, on Twitter, on Discord, and I've had people that have emailed me but didn't use the form, so I couldn't put it up. So, and then there's those people out there who just prefer to remain silent, and that's a lot of people. And they have been doing this with the same volatility levels that you use. Now, don't take this the hard way. This should not be a negative. This should be an absolute positive for two reasons. One, it's very possible. Don't ever think it's not, just because you have low volume. So do these people. And they did it. But you're not in competition with them. You're not in competition with anybody. You just have to get there on your own. And even if this volume just never, ever comes back, it is still very possible, and it is still very much worth doing. You understand? Let this be the most uplifting thing you've seen all day. There is nothing holding you back. Now, on top of this, let me be Captain Obvious here and say this to you. For those of you just trading Forex and nothing else, what are you doing? Over the past few years, I have not been achieving the same levels of success in my Forex trading that I have been in the past. But it doesn't matter because my metals trading, my indices trading, my oil trading has been tremendous. And I can still knock all of those things out in 15 minutes. And you're like, well, you know, I'm American, VP. It's tough. I'm American. And you're right, it's not super easy, but I found a way, and I'm glad I did. All of those markets have been a lot more reliable than the Forex market has in the last few years. And if you have decided to only trade Forex because you're scared to branch out in anything else, even though I've shown you on those videos there are very few changes you have to make. So not only are you foregoing all of that prosperity, you're going to sit there and complain about it? I don't know what to tell you at this point. This is your reality, traders. The Forex market is almost certainly not going anywhere. People are still out there crushing it despite all the things that you're sitting there complaining about. And at the end of the day, nobody's saying that you can only trade Forex. This works just about everywhere. And if you're not leveraging that, then that's on you. Get started. I got the videos to help. I got your back. It's going to be fine. I should actually take a step back here. It's going to be fine if you allow it to be. Now, how do you do that? Game plan time. First off, just keep calm. I see people freaking out verbally, and I know there's people behind that who are not doing it verbally. I get it. I don't love it either, but it is what it is. We can't change it. You just have to keep trading. This is where you can gain so much crucial experience to where all of the other people who said, well, screw it, I'm just going to stop, they're not getting. I know there's people out there right now watching this video that have just stopped trading because the gains weren't there. Terrible mistake. You have lost valuable trading experience that you are never going to be able to get back. There's the old saying, you're going through hell, keep going. Winners win, quitters quit. That's all there is to it. I don't make the rules. But also, if you haven't, get good at everything. My God, why wouldn't you? It's out there. I don't know what you're so afraid of and what's holding you back. All of the excitement and the joy and the discovery that you had when you were first starting this channel, you almost kind of get to relive it again when you're testing out things for these new markets. Except for this time, you know what to do, so it doesn't take as long, which is even better. And while you're doing all of that, always keep improving your systems. If you stop trading, you can't improve. You know, this is super crucial. This is the perfect time to do it because the market has just been blah, just different shades of blah. And that's a great time to take something that's fairly constant and test out new methods of doing things. I mean, I don't think I should ever tell you to keep improving on your system. That should be automatic. But this is such a perfect time to get these things done. Because just on the Forex end alone, you know, if you can develop better systems and keep getting those reps in and get that experience, by the time this thing starts to take off again, you're going to be miles ahead of everybody else. And again, we're not in competition with anybody else, but I mean, consider the alternative, right? Constantly be doing these things all the time, regardless of what the market conditions say. It's like COVID. You know, some people use that time to get fat. Some people use that time to become amazing. Times like this really show what side of the fence you are on. All right. If you're on the wrong side, there's time to get on the right side. You're going to be fine. But then when you get good, as soon as you can, put yourself out there. Let me tell you, there are so many opportunities out there. For the longest time, I thought there were very few. Because when I would take the easy route and I would just go to job search boards and look and see what was out there, there really wasn't much. But what did I do? Well, I mentioned this before. My number one reason for putting this channel out there was to act like a resume to the rest of the world. And guess what? It worked tremendously. I still, to this day, get several opportunities in my inbox every single week. I was like, oh shit, there's a whole world out there that I didn't even know about. I didn't know about being an affiliate influencer. I didn't know about any of these things. And I also didn't know there were so many people out there looking for good traders. Again, let me refer back to an old podcast episode. This time it's the Forex Q&A podcast, episode 68. Experts are not experts. Even to this day, just this week, I saw somebody being interviewed on TV that was this technical analysis guru who had private equity firms that he was working for and all this. The guy had moving averages on his screen, and that's all he had. I mean, he was good at talking about his charts, and I'm sure I'm oversimplifying a bit what he's actually capable of and what he does, but at the end of the day, it was just moving averages. Traders, you don't understand how next level we are with this system. You guys have been able to see and experience the difference between everyday price action, dirty dozen trading, and what we do here. Yet it's still all the price action, dirty dozen trading that are getting all the airtime. In the next 10 years, this is going to change. And those of you who are putting yourselves out there and who are being aggressive are the ones who are going to be at the forefront of this change. I said it before, I'm introverted. Do you think I really wanted to do this? Do you think I was super motivated to do this? This whole thing scared the hell out of me when I first started. But I'm also arrogant. And that's a superpower. Because at the end of the day, I said, you know what? Doesn't matter. I know how well my system works. If people hate it, that's their problem. I'm still going to put myself out there. And those traders out in the universe who wanted another alternative will finally have some place to go. And that's worth it. So traders, put yourselves out there while you can. Coders, the world needs great quant systems. If you have something good, put it out there. You don't have to sell at retail. I've gave this advice to people before. I don't know why people are messing with the retail game. That's the low ceiling game. Go to companies. Show them what you have. Show them how easy it is for them to use. Have them buy it, and then create something similar and go sell that to somebody else. But just let me tell you firsthand, there's so much opportunity out there. And these opportunities are diverse. You know, not only do you have prop firms and brick and mortar jobs and places who would love coders and the products they actually have. There are people who just want to know the probability of what oil is going to do on any given week. People who run companies like that, to where if they can get ahead of the move, it's very beneficial to them. I mean, I had no idea how many opportunities were out there until I did it, and allow me to pass that information down to you. This is great news for people who are good at trading, investing, and especially technical analysis and everything that goes along with it. So if the Forex market disappears in 10 years, who fucking cares? In conclusion, it's going to be fine. A lot of those fears that are rolling around your head right now are not very logical ones or not very probable ones. So you don't have that much to worry about. And I've been saying this, at some point, all that cash is going to flood into our market and it's going to get really good. So you're going to want to be on this. And you're not just going to want to be a Forex trader down the line either, especially when there's all those gains in other markets right now. The amount of you that are passing up on all those gains is staggering. I know it. Branch out. And then when you do, you have that many more opportunities to go pro. And there are so many different avenues to go pro. And once you do that, you're going to become really hard to kill. You're not really going to care what happens to the markets. I secretly don't care what happens to Forex because I've gotten good at so many other things. I've gotten good at business. I've gotten good at media. You know, I'm not going to be super happy if Forex goes away. Of course not. But am I worried about it happening? No. Because if it does, I'm going to be fine. And I want that same level of solace and confidence for you. But just because I want it for you doesn't mean it's actually going to happen. You have to go make it happen. So do that. And while you're at it, subscribe to this channel. Hit the bell. We're not done. I got a whole podcast you should be listening to right now so you can get good at investing as well. Add that to your arsenal. The hell are you scared of? And we still, believe it or not, have more Forex trading videos still to come. But traders, it's officially time. You got to pick a side. Are you going to sit there and piss and moan and give up a whopping 2 years into your Forex career? Glad I didn't do that. Or are you going to take this downtime to become even more amazing than you already are? Are you going to become a man or woman of so many talents that it really doesn't matter what the market does? Because if one market goes down, then you can just seamlessly move into the next one. None of this stuff even matters if you know how to go get it.